right, guys, what's going on? What's going on? Welcome in. So, in this one, I'm joined by my buddy Garrett, football analysis. I'm sure you know him. If you don't, please go down to the description box. I'll leave, of course, all of his links down below. Follow him, subscribe, all that good stuff. I mean, dude, in my opinion, you got the best mock drafts on YouTube, on the internet. Love watching your channel. Love kind of seeing where you stand on specific teams and especially specific trades as well. But Garrett, thanks so much for hopping on, man. How's it going?
It's going good. I appreciate you having me on. And long time supporters know that, once upon a time, I was a huge advocate as to what the Jets were doing. I really thought they had their left tackle, quarterback, and receiver, trio of the future with Mackay, Zach Wilson, and Garrett Wilson. I was really all in on that a couple years ago, but we're all wrong at some point, and I was definitely wrong on that one. But I'm looking forward to this.
All right, so jumping right here into the mock draft, Garrett, are you cool if I get the first pick, or are you feeling the first pick?
Usually, I'm an odds guy. I'll let you have the odds today. I'll be an evens guy, and I'll leave you a pretty stressful decision at pick one.
Right. I think this pick is going to take around like 15-20 minutes to decide. So buckle up. But no, I'm just kidding, bro. Caleb Williams, #1 overall. This to me just kind of feels like the same exact thing as the Jacksonville Jaguars were experiencing when they had the first overall pick with Trevor Lawrence. Super easy, not really much to kind of talk about here. It's just so obvious. So Caleb.
Yeah, so with the Commanders and the clock, I know there's times where especially when I do mock drafts, I definitely get accused of being Viking biased because I want Drake May to fall to my team. But guys, I think there's a lot more concerns with Drake, at least that NFL teams and even former players are concerned with. I know JT O'Sullivan is really respected in the community, and JT is. I mean, I've watched a lot of his content, and he's been times worried about Drake's footwork or the consistency within it. And, if you miss 3 or 4 throws a game out of 30 passing attempts, like, sure, that may only sound like, 3 or 4, but that's 10% of your throws right there. And if you miss a lot of them, I mean, there's the floor for Drake, I think, to NFL teams is a lot lower than some people may think, at least, in the media or to the public. And having said that, I think Jaden Daniels would be the pick. Jaden's accuracy improved a lot over the course of his career. I know the initial thought process to say, well, we had Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr., but somebody still has to make the throws, and there's a reason Jaden won the Heisman last year. That didn't happen by accident. And the Commanders also have Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson, and I think with the amount of picks they have in the top 100, I think offensive line will be addressed as well, so Jaden won't be running for his life.
Love it, dude. Love it. I really like Daniels as a prospect. He has the arm strength. He has, accuracy in the short, intermediate, and deep parts of the field. And I mean, you can look at a lot of different quarterbacks who can be accurate, within 5 to 10 yards of the line of scrimmage, but not many quarterbacks are accurate like 40 yards down the field on a consistent basis. Daniels, of course, brings you height. He brings you mobility. He brings you that TD to INT ratio. He's coachable, good teammate. Players in the SEC hated playing against him, and then throw on top of it the Heisman Trophy winner. I love that pick for Washington, man. But, man, New England, spot #3 here. It's tough. I feel like, New England can really go in a bunch of different ways, right? Marvin Harrison, they can go with a quarterback. I would consider Joe Alt if I'm New England. I know he's not being mocked this high, but Connor McDermott is the team's starting left tackle, and Jets fans, like, we know his name, practice squad player for the Jets. He's slated to be the starting left tackle for New England. And this is a team that can't really pass protect all that well. I was a big fan of bringing back Mike Onwenu, locking on the right side, but they couldn't pass protect. They couldn't run block a year ago. They didn't really have a ton of success. You have a new offensive staff coming in the building with AVP running the show. I personally, you can make an argument. Let's just draft a quarterback and stash him behind Brissett, fill out the roster. We have the high second-round pick. But for me, dude, I think the Vikings are coming up. I don't see the Vikings shooting up to like spot #8 or spot #7. I feel like they're coming right up to the top of the draft. That's why they made the trade with the Texans. And I'm thinking it's going to be for Drake May.
I do too. And if you're New England, where you're as just lacking as much talent on the offensive side of the roster as New England is, again, like I said, I know I get accused of a Viking bias, but I mean, Google the depth chart for the Patriots and tell me if you would be opposed to getting 3 first-round picks, because that's what it would be. You'd be getting 2 this year, 1 next year. hopefully, if you're a Patriots fan, you're hoping the Vikings go 6-11, 7-10, and what would effectively be a rebuilding year. So you essentially have three top 20. Well, let me back up here. You would have pick 11, 23, and then a top 15 pick next year. So you would be getting two top 15 picks plus 23 this year. I mean, I don't think the Patriots are in a position where they are offensively to decline 3 first-round picks.
Right. And, you talked about some of Drake May's concerns before with Washington at 2. Minnesota is, in my opinion, the perfect landing spot for really any developmental
Right.
quarterback, in my opinion, because, of course, you got former quarterback Kevin O'Connell calling the shots, going to be developing him. They brought in Sam Darnold. You can play him for whatever it is, 10 games to a year if he's playable. The second Drake May steps in, he's going to literally be throwing to the best receiver in football. You got his jersey right there, Justin Jefferson. You got Addison, you got Hawkinson, you brought in Aaron Jones. I would assume the defense gets a little bit better. Year 2 of Brian Flores. I think the Minnesota Vikings they're a freaking awesome destination. If you're, whether it's McCarthy, whoever it is,
Right.
On draft night, you got to be fired up to land in Minnesota.
Oh, I'm under the belief that I will talk myself into whoever. That is not a problem. Whoever we take, I'm going to talk myself into them. But with the Cardinals on the clock here, I think this choice is pretty simple. I think it's Marvin Harrison Jr. To me, he's right up there with Jamar in terms of the best I've ever evaluated. So is Neighbors, by the way. I just think Neighbors is just a little below those guys. But I've heard rumors that some teams are higher on Neighbors than they are Marv, and I believe that. I believe that teams that value Yak more than they value what Marv brings to the table, because that's one of Marv's concerns in his game, is that he's not an elite Yak guy. And I think a team like the Chiefs, who are selecting down at pick 32, I think a team like Kansas City would have Malik Neighbors over Marv, just because of how they play and how their offense is run and everything. But Marvin Harrison Jr. falls into your lap at pick 4. It is the best case scenario for Arizona, and you pair him with Kyler, and Kyler is only 26. He'll be 27 in July. Hopefully you have them for at least the next 6 or 7 years. Don't ever think when a blue chip player falls to you.
Yeah, dude, 100%. I mean, he brings so many different traits to, being a perimeter wide receiver. I mean, you can just, you're essentially getting Kyler a weapon that could just win down after down, week after week. The Cardinals just don't have that, especially after losing Hollywood Brown too. So it's a thin position. Go get him a wide receiver 1. And also they have a tight end, young tight end in McBride, who, I personally like. But
I did too.
At pick number 5 here, we get the Chargers. Dude, man, I don't know about you. I'm seeing a lot of people talk about the Chargers just going with Joe Alt or going with the right tackle and just kind of moving on. I still feel like this is a interesting trade back situation, because I'm not 100% sold on the Raiders quarterback situation. Same with Denver. But the Chargers, man, they trade Keenan Allen. They cut Mike Williams. They don't bring back Gerald Everett, who had a pretty solid season for them. I think, I understand Jim Harbaugh's philosophy here, right? Build the offensive line, run the football, take pressure off of the quarterback, work off play action. But I think if Malik Neighbors is sitting here, who in my opinion would be wide receiver 1 in a lot of different draft classes, he's just here for the taking with the 5th overall pick. I think you got to give Herbert a little bit of help here. You don't want to be 10 weeks into the season, 9 weeks into the year saying, okay, well, we're not winning the division. We're 3rd or 2nd in the division because we don't have enough firepower offensively. And now we're forced into, trading a package at the deadline to go land, one of these receivers that could be on the move. Just take your guy here on a cheap rookie deal for the next 5 seasons. I feel like Malik Neighbors just brings so much explosion to a team, really wherever he lands, whether it's Arizona, Giants. I think Neighbors just is – He's going to be that dude. So I'm going to go with Neighbors here at 5 for Herbert and the Chargers.
I like that pick, and that's one that I've made. It's just I'm at the point in mock draft season. I know we've each probably done 100 or more so simulations at this point. Just I'm at the point where it's just don't overthink the best talent. Don't overthink Malik Neighbors into trading down to pick 12 to get an extra pick and then getting a player that's still good. Don't get me wrong, but just take the blue chip talent when it falls into your lap. Don't overthink it. And speaking of talent falling into your lap, the Giants over the past 6 years, really since the Odell trade, have not had anything at the receiver position. You can probably infer where I'm going with this, but Darius Slayton was drafted in 2019 out of Auburn. He was like a fifth round pick. He has led the team in receiving yards in every year of his career but one. And Darius Slayton, while I like him as a player, I don't want him leading my team in receiving yards in for the past 5 years. And if you were wondering in which year he didn't lead the team in receiving yards, it was Kenny Galladay. So we're going to do what we can to bring in the best receiver since Odell was on the Giants. That to me is Rome Odunze. I love Rome's game. And to be honest, I don't think Daniel Jones, Mr. 4 years, $160 million, I don't think he's going to be the long-term answer there. I think the Giants have a lot of holes in the roster, but if you can do what you can to not only make Daniel's life easier in what could be his final season starting for the Giants this year, do what you can to make that next quarterback's life easier as well. So Rome Odunze to the Giants is one that if he's there, I don't think they should overthink it. Just make Rome a Giant and just upgrade a position that desperately needs it.
For sure, man. I mean, the second he's there, he's the best receiver on the team. And if you're saying that about the third receiver in this class at spot number 6, like you're in a good position if you are the Giants here. I mean, especially after they lost Barkley, they just, I felt like they were one with New England. They were one of the least explosive teams in football, and then they go out and lose Barkley. So yeah, I mean, I like the fit here. I'm not saying Odunze is the most explosive guy out there, but I mean, man, you got to get Daniel Jones a weapon. For the Titans here at 7, I think this is probably the easiest pick in the draft. I know, some of the Titans brass has kind of hinted at opting for the pass catcher, opting for the, player that can score touchdowns over the lineman. But, they made so many free agent acquisitions with Ridley, Pollard, Cushionberry. I really like the direction that the Titans are going. They're kind of almost like trying to speed up the rebuilding process here. But left tackle is a major vacancy, and you have the best one sitting here, at spot 7. You can team him up right next to Skoronski, 11th overall pick last year. You got to keep a young quarterback and Will Levis upright. Callahan knows that after seeing Joe Burrow go down, multiple times with injury. Joe Alt here for the Titans.
That's a pick that every time if Joe Alt makes it there, I don't think about it. I don't question it. It is just right there. You have 3 of the 5 spots, as you alluded to with Skoronski and Cushionberry. You have 3 of the 5 offensive line spots just done. Don't got to worry about it. And when you have a rookie quarterback, we don't know what Levis is. I don't think you can fairly evaluate his rookie year based on what we saw. I mean, there were times last year where whether it was Will Levis, whether it was Patrick Mahomes, it really didn't matter who was a quarterback because they were doomed from the start on some plays. So I love the pick, love the fit. And another fit that I love, or player that I love, is actually Dallas Turner to the Atlanta Falcons. Obviously, they went out and signed Kirk Cousins in free agency. And with Dallas Turner's just athleticism, he's 6'4", 245. I want to say we're at a 4.47 40. I might be 100th or 2 off on that, but it's sub 4.5 40. Don't overthink it. The Falcons have needed a pass rush in the worst way for a couple of years now. And not only that, but when you have a good pass rush, it also helps out the secondary. And AJ Terrell had a great year back in 2021. And I don't think it's a matter of AJ Terrell just being a one-year wonder or falling off. But I mean, defense works hand in hand. And the pass rush that AJ has had in front of him over the past 2 years hasn't been good. So we're going to help out the secondary as much as we're going to help out the rest of the defense as well. Dallas Turner, to me, great prospect, and love the fit in Atlanta.
For sure, dude. Yeah, no, I love that pick. I think whenever you can get a guy who is, again, much like Odunze with the Giants, whenever he's stepping in and he's going to immediately be the best player at his position on a cheap rookie deal and he fits the system, I think it's really just a win all around. So yeah, I love that pick. For the Chicago Bears, man. Yeah, so I know I've seen a lot of mocks with Odunze going to Chicago. Obviously, he's not here in this mock. Dude, when I look at the Bears free agent moves, obviously they're loading the team up kind of like the Titans, but the one position that they didn't really address, they brought in Martin from Houston, but edge rusher. You got Montez Sweat there. In my opinion, Eberflus, the defensive guy, he wants to get an edge rusher, or quite frankly needs to get an edge rusher opposite of Sweat, that can impact the quarterback position, that can impact protection. I think Jared Verse makes a ton of sense. I think he fits that system well. I think he's going to take pressure off of Montez Sweat to be the primary pass rusher on every single third and long and every single pass rushing situation where running backs are just going to boom chip him immediately. I mean, Verse at times like wrecked games for opposing offenses back in college. So yeah, I'm going Verse here with the Bears, even though it might be, I guess, considered like an overdraft to some.
No, I like the fit and like we say with quarterbacks entering situations like how you said with Drake May going into Minnesota, I think it's a great situation for Verse to succeed in. Great secondary, great opposite pass rusher in Montez. I think it's a win-win for everybody there. Now, with the Jets here, I'm gonna ask your input on this, but I am let me think of the word here. I'm a little nervous for relying on Tyron Smith and Morgan Moses each to play 17 games for the 2024 season. That's a take that I've had, really since they made each move. I still think offensive tackle should be the target here for the Jets. I know having Brock Bowers would be it'd be very fun. It would be very much, eat the dessert before your, the best part of the meal, if you will, or the more nutritious part of the meal. But I really think offensive line should be the priority. And the thing about the Jets situation here, and this is where I lean on this, they don't have to have a guy who's going to come in from day one that just needs to effectively just kick rear ends and take names later. They can essentially they can draft a guy who can develop a little bit, whether that's, getting stronger at the NFL level. That's a guy that, can take a little bit of time. And I love Olu Fashanu to the Jets. That would be my pick. But Olu, the big concern with him, and I think it's kind of a hilarious concern, is that he got, pushed back a couple times against Ohio State. And I went through the tape recently, and every offensive tackle gets beat at some point. No offensive tackle is pitching a shutout every single week. They're going to allow pressures. They're going to allow sacks. It's part of the game. But Olu is just 21 years old. We're not talking about a 24-year-old guy that's been in college for 6 years that, that's getting pushed back by 19-year-old edge rushers. Olu is just 21. And if you give him some time to learn behind Tyron Smith and Morgan Moses, I think that's only beneficial for everybody. And, Olu would effectively take over full time at 22 years old during the 2025 season. Hopefully, he wouldn't have to play too much as a rookie, but I think in terms of draft and develop, I love that pairing there.
100%, dude. Love that description. I think you pretty much hit the nail on the head where, you're looking at Tyron Smith. He's hurt like every year, unfortunately. Like, as much as I loved the acquisition, and him kind of projecting him as the starter next season, protecting Rodgers, he does miss time. And I believe he's 32, 33 years old. He's up there in age. He's not going to be the bookend tackle for the next 10 years, but Fashanu has that potential. And I think one of the knocks, or I guess right next to that Ohio State game, the biggest knock on Fashanu is he might need a little bit more time to develop. Well, perfect. Tyron Smith is, if he does get hurt, whatever it is, 10, 11 weeks into the year, Fashanu can step right in. If Tyron Smith is out there and he plays great for the entirety of the regular season, then that's cool too, because he's on a 1-year contract. So Fashanu can just step right in, immediately from there. But yeah, moving on to pick number 11 here. So the Patriots can go in a bunch of same situation at 3. They can go in a lot of different areas here. I'm personally not as high on JJ McCarthy as a lot of people are, and kind of like the hype building up. And, I understand it, right? The ability to take care of the football, hurt defenses with his legs. He does have arm strength. He is accurate. He does make, big time plays at big moments. I understand the hype around him, but personally, just, from what I've seen, I prefer multiple quarterbacks in front of McCarthy. But I do get the sense that McCarthy will be one of these top picks in the draft, and he's here. So I think if you're New England, at 11, you just traded back, you get a later first round pick. I don't necessarily know if this is what I would do if I'm the general manager of the Patriots, but I do feel like it's realistic given the context of McCarthy's hype, how the draft stories are kind of playing out. If it's not McCarthy, though, I would probably go with a tackle. So I think, with this tackle class being relatively deep compared to other classes, if you're New England, well, I don't want to spoil it later on, so I'll just go with JJ.
Yeah. So I like the pick, and especially with New England, they signed Jacoby Brissett this offseason. Hopefully at pick 23, or because the Patriots also have 34 due to their early second round pick. Hopefully receiver will be addressed at some point. So not just for JJ's sake, but for Jacoby Brissett's sake too. Hopefully, he's a better weapon to throw to. But no, it's I mean, the thing with JJ is you can't expect JJ to go in and just be a savior from day one, because if you do, there's going to be a lot of people fired. So I like the situation for him to come in behind Jacoby Brissett, not have to start right away, and New England still has another pick that we'll get to shortly. But with Denver on the clock, I mean, I got to be honest. I really think Sean Payton is just destroying this team. I mean, we already saw Russell Wilson get released. I guess I respect, acknowledging that he's not your guy. But look, to me, Jarrett Stidham is not the long-term answer. I don't think that should be a surprise, but we need to come out of this draft with what we presume to be a long-term answer. Bo Nix completed passes at 77% last year. Obviously, a lot of those passes were within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage or even thrown behind the line of scrimmage. But I like Bo Nix a lot. And I know Denver would have to get a little better of a supporting cast as time goes on, but I think Bo Nix is a little underrated. We're at a point in the draft process where people want to talk about Caleb Williams and how he acts off the field, which to me is just ridiculous. And then we want to talk about Drake May's footwork, and then we want to talk about JJ McCarthy being the next Zach Wilson or being whatever. But I think within all of this, by the way, these are media narratives, not necessarily how I feel, but I think within all of this is how I feel, by the way. I do think Bo Nix is underrated. Bo Nix would be my pick for the Broncos at pick 12, and I think he's a quarterback that you can easily build around moving forward.
Yeah, dude. I mean, Nixon's skill set alone, in my opinion, like, he does give offensive coordinators and, in this case, Sean Payton, a lot to work with, whether it is the accuracy, but, not just the accuracy, but it's the decision-making too. He takes care of the football, tons of experience. I think he has over 60 plus starts under his belt between Auburn and Oregon. He's put up good numbers in good games, good performances in 2 separate conferences. He's beaten really solid defenses. He's consistent. He's a great teammate. The coaches love him. Good deep ball accuracy too. Plus a little bit of mobility, success under center. I really like this pick for Denver. I honestly, some mocks are having Bo Nix fall to round 2, and that very well could be the case. But I really feel like Bo Nix to Denver here at 12 makes just so much sense. In so many different ways. So we got the Raiders here at spot number 13. It's tough because, naturally you're just going for quarterback, right? Gardner Minshew, Aiden O'Connell, guys that can hold it down, but not really guys that you can maybe build around for, the foreseeable future. I don't believe that they have a franchise quarterback on the roster. But with 5 quarterbacks being off the board here, you're going to get really good value if you are the Raiders, considering you're picking at 13. So I think if I'm them, I would go with Talise Fuaga. Go lock down a tackle position, a bookend tackle that will immediately help in the running game and protect, whoever is playing quarterback, whether it's Minshew, whether it's O'Connell, whether it's, a second round quarterback, whoever it is. But I think the Raiders want to get, a player that can step in right away and win. Right away and compete with other NFL talent, not so much a developmental prospect that they're going to have to, bring along the way for a year or two.
No, I like the fit for the Raiders a lot, and whenever if Fuaga is available for them, I 9 out of 10 times mock him, just because I think in terms of team and fit, I don't know if there's many more in the draft that I like than Talise going there. I mean, he's an ass kicker. Sorry, I don't know if that's allowed, but on the channel, sorry, but he's
You're good.
Okay. He's I mean, he just kicks rear ends, takes names later. I love him, and I think Antonio Pierce is a former player. I think he definitely loves that mindset as well. Now, with New Orleans on the clock, this is a tough one because there were reports the other day that, from Ian Rappaport, by the way, I'm not just making this up, that Ryan Ramczyk may not play this year. The Saints are, in fact, worried about that. Now, 2 years ago, the Saints whiffed on left tackle Trevor Penning from Northern Iowa. I was never a big fan of that in the draft process, or never a big fan of Penning's in the draft process. I thought he was way too much of a risk. So what we're going to do here is we are going to kind of right or wrong, if you will, and we're going to take just a good offensive lineman. We're going to have a player, a borderline premium player on a discount for the next couple of years, and that's going to be Troy Fatanu from Washington. Troy, to me, is a very high floor guy. He has both tackle and guard versatility, and if Ramczyk plays, great. We can play Troy at left tackle, which I think would be a significant upgrade over Penning. And if Ramczyk does not play, then we can just slide Troy in on the right side. So I think for the Saints here, it's a win-win, and you are coming away with an offensive line starter for the next few years.
Yeah, dude, I love that pick. I think the Saints really, really need help in the trenches. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if they went with Byron Murphy from Texas. I losing Roach from the inside, I think, and obviously they brought in Chase Young, so you're getting some pass rush there, but I think it's all about the trenches here. And another point is if Ramczyk is healthy and good to go on the right side, and say Penning actually does look solid in camp, you can play Troy at guard because Andres Pete is still a free agent. So all of a sudden you can be really knocking out like 3 birds with 1 stone here with that pick. But yeah, with 15 here, I think, or with the Indianapolis Colts at 15, I think I'm just going to go BPA and just go Brock Bowers. Go get Anthony Richardson, a weapon on the inside of the field, right? Somebody who can hurt teams up the seam, somebody who can hurt defenses on third downs, like big third down critical plays. Brock Bowers is a playmaker. Brock Bowers is a matchup. Matchup nightmares kind of thrown around a lot these days, but he is a mismatch, right? I think you can move him around. I think there's a lot of different ways that you can use Brock Bowers in the passing game. And now you're kind of just as a defensive coordinator looking at Indy, the amount of things that you have to account for, right? Jonathan Taylor in the running game. They have nasty offensive line play. Anthony Richardson's arm strength plus mobility. And now you have a dynamic tight end here at 15. Yeah, I'm going Bowers.
I love it. And the thing is I mean, I like Michael Pittman a lot. I know Colts fans obviously like Michael Pittman, but Colts fans would also acknowledge that Michael Pittman's not, one of the top 4 or 5 receivers in the league. So I think if when you have a franchise or a young budding quarterback that you want to be a franchise quarterback, I think do anything you can to help him out. So I like that pick a lot. And with the Seahawks on the clock, they have been frustrating to watch at times over the past few years. Their run defense is just completely non-existent. It's been non-existent for a few years. To me, the pick would be Jerzon Newton. When you have a player of Johnny's caliber just fall right in your lap, I don't think you should overthink it. Mike Macdonald obviously knows the value of great interior defensive line play. There's a reason Justin Madubuike had the best year of his career in 2023, and it was, I don't want to say due strictly to Mike Macdonald, but it was just a draft and develop over the past few years, and Mike Macdonald has played a role in that. And I think if he can get his hands on Johnny Newton and have an interior defensive line of both Johnny and have Leonard Williams in there, that's going to be a start to not having the ball completely ran down your throat for 17 games a year, which is what the Seahawks have had for the past 2 years. So Johnny Newton, love the fit, and I think that would be a great first selection in the Mike Macdonald era.
Yeah, love it, man. Love it. So here for Jacksonville at 17, I think really for me at least, it probably comes down to 2 positions, wideout and corner. Brian Thomas is sitting here, and I really, really love Brian Thomas. I think he's not necessarily underrated because obviously he's being like ranked as a top 5, receiver coming out, but I think Thomas is really, I think he could really do damage at the NFL level. But here's the thing, right? This class is really deep with wide receivers. You can go out and get a starter in round 2, potentially round 3 as well. That's not like an over exaggeration. And Jacksonville, there's also been some rumors with surrounding Brandon Ayuk. So we'll see potentially if something happens there. I doubt it, but we'll see. I guess it's still on the table. I think I feel like if I'm Jacksonville, you have the opportunity to go get the corner of your choosing. There is a couple wide receivers off the board. There isn't any corners. I think if Jacksonville in their mind can go get cornerback 1 at 17 in the draft, I mean, we've seen corners get taken really, really high, right? Sauce Gardner was, at pick 4. Who else? We've seen Okuda go 3, Derek Stingley go 3. I think if you can get a CB1 at 17, that's huge. I'm going Terrion Arnold.
Okay. I disagree a little bit just because I think that I would love Brian Thomas, like you alluded to. I would love him. I mean, I completely understand the thought process with Arnold, and especially with how loaded this class is a receiver. I am a huge Brian Thomas Jr. fan. I love him.
Mhm.
But with the Bengals on the clock, I would, as much as I know I just said I'm a big Brian Thomas Jr. fan, and I am, and I would love to go Brian Thomas here. But look, they lost Jonah Williams in free agency. The Bengals have unfortunately had Joe Burrow go down with a season ending injury in 2 of his first 4 years. And I want to make Joe Burrow get hit as little as I possibly can. And we are going to swing for the fences here, and we are going to draft Amarius Mims from Georgia. Amarius to me is, I love Amarius on tape. And the thing is Amarius is 340 pounds, but he carries 340 a lot better than guys carry 260 or 270. He is just a freak athletically. I know that term gets tossed around a lot, but Amarius is, I mean, he's a one of one player. And if he reaches his ceiling, there's a possibility the Bengals could have one of the best tackles in the league on a rookie contract for the next half decade. So Amarius Mims, we're gonna shoot for the stars here with this pick. And I think that's that. I mean, the Bengals don't have any intention of selecting at pick 18 for the next couple years. So I like the pairing here with Amarius going to Cincinnati.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely interesting. I would probably push back just like a little bit, because I think there's no doubting that if the Bengals select Mims, they're a better football team. They have a much better offensive line with Mims on the roster than without. But I view Cincy as kind of that pressing win now football team, especially with
Yeah.
Pittsburgh getting better and Cleveland doing what they're doing. They did sign Trent Brown, who I don't really view as like a bench player at this point. You know, I know it's only a 1 year deal, but yeah. So I'm thinking maybe for me, if Brian Thomas, like you said, is there at 18, it'd be hard to turn it up or turn it down. But at 19, man, we got the Rams. I think the Rams are tough because Penix is here, and you can say, well, you know, Stafford isn't 28. You know, he's up there in age, and he's dealt with some injuries, and you know, first round pick that the Rams and McVay have had in a long time. You can now go out and select a quarterback here with a ton of potential. But I think the Rams probably get an upgrade. I'm gonna say it's center with Jackson Powers Johnson here. Oh, excuse me, from Oregon. They moved on from their center from last year. They invested a ton of money in the guard position. I think they go out and get that anchor in the center of the offensive line for at the very least, the next 5 years. I mean, they brought in Jonah Jackson on I think a 3 year contract, and then they re-upped Dotson on a 3 or 4 year contract. So the middle of that Rams offensive line, I think, is going to be really nasty. And it's going to be something that's going to counter what the 49ers do pretty much every single season with their defensive line. So I'm going to go Powers Johnson there for the Rams.
And it also provide, not only will keep Stafford and maybe the successor to Stafford clean, but it also it paves ways for Kyron Williams in the run game too. But with the Steelers on the clock, we discussed earlier about players fitting a team, and I think in terms of mentality, I think in terms of city, just everything. Quinyon Mitchell to me fits the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think he would be a guy Mike Tomlin would absolutely love from day one. And if you're going to have a secondary with Quinyon, Joey Porter Jr., and a pretty good safety who's been a multiple time All Pro by the name of Minkah Fitzpatrick, along with a pass rush with TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith. Shout out Cam Hayward in the middle, and hell, even Keanu Benton. I might as well just shout out the rest of the defense at this point. But no, I love what the Steelers have cooking there, and really that second corner spot is to me the only true weak link in the defense. And you have to be able to defend the Jacksons, Burrows, Mahomes, Allens. I mean, you're in the AFC. You know, we're not in the NFC where there's not, those guys. You have to be able to figure out a way to try and stop them. And I think Quinyon is a good start to that, or at least a good add-on to what they already have, rather.
Yeah, I would agree. It's a great point about, looking at the division that you're in and trying to kind of counteract that while at the same time filling a huge need. So, yeah, and Mitchell also, I feel like it's kind of plug and play, ready to go from the jump here. But with the Miami Dolphins, I'm going to go with my guy Murphy from Texas. He's one of my favorite players in this draft. I think he's just so aggressive and violent, and I really want that trait in an interior pass rusher. Obviously, he has the production resume, but then you also look at it from the Dolphins' perspective. They they just lost Christian Wilkins, somebody who they just weren't going to be able to bring back at that price. He goes on and signs a huge deal, like $100+ million contract with the Raiders. I think you get his replacement here at 21.
No, I like that a lot. And for me, I think whether it's defensive line or offensive line, I think Miami is without a doubt going trenches. At least I think that's where they should go. But on either side of the ball for me personally. But with the Eagles on the clock, their corners are old. Cooper DeJean staring you right in the face. I would not be upset if they went Kool-Aid McKinstry, but Cooper DeJean for me would be the pick. I mean, he's right there. He's a great DB. I know some people will say, he's sneaky fast or, lunch pail or, any adjective that you want in that vicinity. Coach's kid, first one in, last one out. You get where I'm going with that. But no, Cooper DeJean right there. Don't overthink a great prospect. And Howie Roseman, I know a lot of people, there's been a lot of criticism for Howie over the years, but Howie more often than not just lets good prospects fall to him. He did it last year with Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith. And I think he does it this year with Cooper DeJean right there.
Yeah, love it, man. Fills a need. And DeJean's versatile too, which I really like. Okay, so damn, obviously as a Jet fan, picking here 2 times for the New England Patriots, really 3 times with the trade back, the trade back with Minnesota. It pains me to say this because I freaking love this prospect, but it just makes all the sense in the world. I'm going Brian Thomas from LSU. If you're New England, man, like you're looking at going from 3 and potentially taking like a project quarterback to moving down to spot number 11, taking that quarterback, having that bridge with Brissett there, but you also land, in my opinion, a number 1 wide receiver, or at least, somebody that can be a number 1 wide receiver at the NFL level here in Thomas. Comes in as the best receiver on the football team. You have him locked up for the next 5 seasons, and you recoup a future first-round pick from Minnesota. I think, man, New England in this scenario here would they killed it.
I like that pick, and I was hoping when we were discussing their pick earlier at 11 with JJ, I was hoping that you give him a receiver of some sort, but with this pick here, we are, the Dallas Cowboys, a multi-billion-dollar organization. Look, we're going to look to stay local. We got to save on moving costs. We're going to go with Adonai Mitchell from Texas. If you compare him with CeeDee Lamb, don't overthink it. We saw the Cowboys. I mean, it wasn't due to CeeDee Lamb, of course, but we saw them struggle in the playoffs, and I want to take the chance, I guess, is what I'm looking for, out of the quarterback's hands as much as possible. Surround, whether that's Dak. Obviously, there's been a lot of things in the news this week with Dak. Take as much of that guessing out of the quarterback's hands as you can and just simply load up on talent. CD, of course, will be getting paid very soon. He'll probably be, I'm going to say on the conservative end, $28 million, but I think it'll really be more than $30 million a year. And if you can have your top 2 receivers getting paid right around $36 million a year combined with what would be CD 30 and then Adonai, 5 or 6 a year, paying them an average of $18 million, that is smart football. And the Cowboys have won 12 games in each of the past 3 years for a reason. They do a lot of things right despite the memes and everything that come out about the Cowboys. But Adonai Mitchell, love the fit there.
Yeah, I think, I do too, man. Mitchell, like he makes incredible plays. I know I was talking about, Murphy also is one of my favorite players. I'm not even a Texas fan. It just is, coincidence, but yeah, it does make sense for Dallas. My only question would be, what's the plan at left tackle? Because they did lose Tyron Smith. You kind of think that they have a plan there,
sure,
because they wouldn't just let him go, and just say, all right, well, we're just not going to do anything at the position, which is obviously extremely important.
Right. My thing would be they had Tyron and Tyler Smith on the roster at the same time. Tyler played at left tackle for the most part in his rookie year when Tyron, like we discussed earlier, was dealing with an injury, as he seemingly always does. So I would kick Tyler back out. And the thing is left guard would be a little bit of a question mark, but maybe there is a chance that the Cowboys could trade back up, or this class is pretty deep on the offensive line. So maybe they could get a Christian Haynes in the second round from UConn, or maybe Jordan Morgan, kick him inside again. That'd be a little bit of a reach, hoping that he would fall. But I would rather have the Cowboys draft a premier talent in Adonai Mitchell and then go from there, because I don't think there's many receivers like Adonai Mitchell at 24 overall, at least in most drafts.
Sweet, dude, sweet. So I think for Green Bay here at 25, I'm going to go offensive line. And
Oh, okay.
although I like JC Latham a lot, I feel like he's kind of being, for whatever, not necessarily disrespected, but I feel like he should be talked about maybe a little bit more or in like a higher regard. I just feel like he has so much power at the position. But I think because Green Bay likes to like move and swap guys on their offensive line,
They do.
and because they have some question marks there, I'm going to go with Graham Barton, who
Huh.
is arguably the most versatile offensive lineman in this entire class. So now you can take Barton, figure out a position for him, and if something goes awry, if somebody gets hurt, you now have some flexibility there.
I love well, for everything you just said, I love Graham Barton. And I think Graham will be an unsung hero for whatever team he goes to. Hey Graham, our right guard tweaked his knee in practice. All right, step in for the next 4 weeks while he rehabs that. Our right tackle did whatever, tripped over a tree stump, whatever. We can just put you in there. I like Graham Barton a lot. But right now, I am, like proverbially sprinting to the podium here. I'm not even questioning this pick. It is Latu to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I love Latu. Latu's tape is to me top 15 in the class. And the only thing that we're remotely concerned about here, of course, is medicals. But Latu, he just has an absolute bag of weapons, whether it's swim move, arm over, whether it's speed to power, whatever the case may be. Latu has an answer for everything. And when you're in a division with Kirk Cousins, now with Derek Carr and Kirk Cousins aren't exactly the best, two quarterbacks that you're going to have to face, but Bryce Young, for that matter, you're going to have quarterbacks that you're going to have to get over for the next, or going to have to get after rather for the next few years. And I think Latu he can pretty comfortably develop into a low double-digit sack guy per year, especially with the bag of weapons that he has at his disposal.
Dude, that's an A+ pick, man. You
Appreciate
match that with Todd Bowles, and
Right.
the system fit. Todd Bowles is known for moving guys around, sending extra blitzers and whatnot. And Latu's a guy who not only just has the 2 years of crazy production, but he also can win from different areas on the field. So I think this is just a slam dunk on so many different levels. The only question is injury, but at the same time, it's just like you're picking in the 20s. You're not going to get the perfect prospect. You're not going to get like somebody who's worthy of being like a top 5 pick there. So I freaking love that pick, man.
Appreciate it.
Let's see, 27 here. Jeez, Arizona. Man, it sucks because I really like JC Latham a lot, but I just keep on passing on him. I feel like the Cardinals could really use help at corner. Go get Jonathan Gannon. I mean, you're looking at the division like Seahawks, Metcalf, JSN, Lockett is still out there. You got the Rams with Cooper Kupp and Nakua. You got the Niners with everybody that they have. Ayuk, we'll see if he's still there, but Debo and all these different guys. I think Cooley McKinstry makes a lot of sense for Arizona. Give Jonathan Gannon somebody with a ton of potential, physical, athletic specimen, production at Alabama, somebody who's been talked about as one of these top corners, as a first-round corner for a long time. I'm going McKinstry here for Arizona.
I was hoping that would be the pick. I love that for them. Love the fit, and I think Kool-Aid McKinstry is a Jonathan Gannon type corner. That to me, it just makes so much sense. Now, I want to ask to see if you are interested in a trade here. With your pick would be the 49ers at pick 31. Are you interested in coming up? If not, no big deal. I'll make a pick, but I would be looking to trade here. Pick 28, and I think I would be willing to give up pick 133. And I'd be looking for the 49ers. I'd be looking for pick 31 and 94 if you are interested. If you're not interested in coming up, that's completely fine, but I just want to propose that trade.
I am interested in. I'm definitely coming up. What were the picks that you're sending to San Fran?
I'd be looking 28 and 133 for 31 and 94.
Yeah, that's fair.
Cool. All right. Let's go ahead and make the trade, and then you are on the clock. I think this will benefit both of us if it goes how I think it will.
Definitely. So I was kind of thinking, I think Tyler Nubin at Buffalo makes a lot of sense, dude, honestly. But man, for the Niners here, I'm going to go with JC Latham.
That's what I thought it'd fall right into your lap. Trade out of conference makes a lot of sense for each sides there.
Yeah, for sure. And it's I always like seeing like the trades in the late portion of round
Oh,
one
yeah.
in mock drafts, because I feel like it really takes just patience and kind of like just an understanding of teams rosters and whatnot. And you hit that you hit hit an absolute home run. Although I feel like the Niners can really use help at interior defensive line, I just think Latham is plug and play right now, a huge upgrade on the outside for them at right tackle. And because if you look at the Niners defense, like Randy Gregory's a free agent. Everybody knows what happened with Armstead. He's now a Jaguar, and then they also lost Kinlaw to the
Well,
Jets.
the
So
Jet, baby, Jet Central.
yeah, so three interior defensive linemen missing, gone, that they have to replace. But I think Latham is too good to pass up.
All right, you were on the clock. Another odd pick, and then I'll take the remaining three for the final because the Bills will do an pick. So
Yeah,
who are
for
the
sure.
who are the Motor City Kitties going for?
Detroit's in such a good position. I feel like my gut tells, so I guess I'll just make this pick off of somebody who I just really like in this class. And I'm not seeing him on the board here, so it might look like a reach. I mean, who knows? Maybe it is a complete reach, but I just really like him as a player. I'm going Keon Coleman from Florida State. I'm not going to let the 40 time freak me out and just erase all of his good tape that he put out for the Knowles. I mean,
Sure.
his hands are freaking fantastic, and he does not have to be the number one guy. Jameson Williams and Amon-Ra St. Brown. They have Laporta there and Gibbs to take pressure off of Jared Goff. I think Keon Coleman is going to be a nice possession type of receiver for Detroit. So I'm going to go Coleman.
No, I like that pick a lot. I think it makes a ton of
Do
sense.
you? Okay, cool.
Yeah, no, I love it. It was well, it would be for me in that situation. It would have. I mean, I like Nate Wiggins a lot, but he's not. I don't think he's a Lion just in terms of how they want to play football, in terms of the grit and grind and basically be like the bigger bully on the field. I mean, Nate Wiggins is 175, 180 pounds. I don't think he's that. I don't think he fits them. But it would have. Zach Frazier is a guy that I like mocking to the Lions a lot, but. With the Ravens on the clock here, they traded Morgan Moses to the Jets, and they need tackle help. I wouldn't mind corner if the player was there. Yeah, to be honest, I think I can talk myself into Nate Wiggins for the Ravens. It'd be between Nate Wiggins or Tyler Guyton for Baltimore. Baltimore doesn't pick again until pick 62. You know what? I actually just talked myself into it. There you go. Nate Wiggins. Nate Wiggins. It is actually, I said that. I was actually talking myself into it after you clicked it, but no, Nate Wiggins. Look, the Ravens are a great organization. They do a lot of things right. They walked out of the 2022 first round a couple years ago with Kyle Hamilton and Tyler Linderbaum because they didn't panic. They let the draft come to them, and now they have multiple All-Pros from that class because they didn't overthink it. Now, with Buffalo on the clock here, look, they just lost Gabe Davis to the Jags. I want to give Josh Allen an actual number 2, so I am going to go with Troy Franklin from Oregon. I also wouldn't dislike Ladd McConkey there if for any Lad fans out there. But with Kansas City on the clock here, they did not pay L'Jarius Sneed, and he is now a Titan. The thing is, I don't know where to go here with the Chiefs. There's a lot of places they can go. I wouldn't hate another receiver for him. And to be honest, I like mocking Keon Coleman to the Chiefs. But man, give me a sec here. I'm not going to panic and make a bad pick or try not to make a bad pick. But
well, let me throw this out there.
Absolutely.
I don't know if we can do this, like if the site will allow, but can I have just for the hell of it, can I have the Raiders come up? Actually, no, because I was going to have them come up for Penix, but it's an in-division type of trade, and we don't really see that too often. So never mind.
I would think in this situation, man, there's so many good players. You know what? I'm just going to take a player. This might surprise you. I'm going to go Ladd McConkey for the final pick in the first round. Just because you can have Ladd, you can have Rashee Rice, you can have Marquise Brown. I know there's no true, 6'3" or, build your receiver room. There's no true big guy there, but I mean, Ladd will get open no matter what. Ladd is, to me, I think he's a pretty underrated player. I would feel comfortable drafting him in the first round. There's a pretty good quarterback in Kansas City that would be able to get him the football pretty consistently. So I think if Ladd's there, in that situation with how the board played out, because it didn't play out favorably for Kansas City. I think Ladd would be a good selection for them.
For sure. And like another thing too, it's like Andy Reid is there. Like if anybody's going to know how to, develop a wide receiver and get maybe the most out of them, it's Andy Reid. But dude, I appreciate you hopping on,
Of
man.
course.
Just taking a quick look. I don't know if you can see my screen here, but what's kind of just like gut feeling your favorite pick in this entire mock here?
Man, I in terms of value and everything, there's a couple. I always love when I can, because the board doesn't always play out that way. But I like when Latu goes to the Bucks, just because I think Latu's a top 15 player. But in all the mocks that I've done this year, this is the first time, and it could have easily happened like this. I mean, we saw how, just corners go, receivers go, but JC falling to pick 28 and the 49ers, I was glad we were on the same page there. Buffalo got an extra 3. San Fran gave up, I think it was a regular 4. I don't think it was the Dallas 4, but no, I mean, they pick swapped and everybody came out of that a winner. The Bills still got a receiver. The 49ers got much needed help, and I think JC Latham is, to me, a much better prospect than Tyler Guyton is at right tackle. And I think those two are some of my those are a couple of my favorite picks. And I also love Olu to the Jets, man. I mean, Olu is such an overthought prospect. I mean, we're at a point where it's just like we've seen a guy play great football for 2 years and we're worried about 4 snaps against a great team. And it's like breaking news. Patrick Mahomes throws interceptions, Josh Allen throws interceptions. Guys are not perfect. And when the standard is perfect, like the expectations were for Caleb this year, you're gonna find chinks in the armor to pick, because no player is perfect. So I think those are some of my favorite picks from the mock.
Yeah, dude, I love it, man. And I think it's really cool too how you didn't go with like the quote unquote sexy pick for the Jets at 10 with Bowers. Now, it's not to say that Bowers would make the Jets worse. Clearly not. Bowers to the Jets would make them a freaking force in the middle of the field, right? Especially with Aaron Rodgers throwing him the football and Garrett Wilson, perimeter receiver. You're assuming Mike Williams stays healthy. It's not the flashy, super, super exciting pick, but in my opinion, that's the same pick that I would have made if the board kind of falls like this. But dude, I appreciate you taking the time, man. I know I said it would be a little quicker than the time limit here. So I appreciate you taking the time.
It's all good. I appreciate you having me. And for anyone watching, you can check me out, Football Analysis, and make sure to like this video. Help my guys' algorithm. Like the video, subscribe, comment. And if there were any picks I made that were terrible, like comment, help the algorithm out. Definitely help support the channel.
Awesome stuff, man. Awesome stuff. So all of Garrett's links are going to be listed down below in the description box. And yeah, thanks so much for watching. And as always, go Jets.